Hello, I am Kate McKay, and welcome to Master Your Life, a show exclusively dedicated to uncovering the path to excellence through powerful stories of grit, determination, and transformation. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'm super excited to introduce an incredibly soulful and wonderful human named Camberly Gilmartin. Welcome, Camberly.
Thank you so much, Katie. I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me on your show.
Thank you. And just a little bit about you. Camberly has a rewarding career in marketing and branding. At Curious and Creative, Camberly crafts brand and product stories and business strategies to increase visibility and revenue for businesses. As an entrepreneur, businesswoman, author, and parent, Camberly shares the experiences and tools she's discovered along the way to inspire others to live healthy, connected, and joy-filled lives. She's also in the best-selling book, Woman Gone Wild, and that's how we met, Camberly. So I'm really super excited to hear, how did you get involved in Women Gone Wild with the one, the only Rhonda Swan?
Rhonda is amazing. She is the one, the only. I just have to chalk it up to divine intervention through email, honestly. I'm not really much of an email reader, but late at night, one time I broke my own rule. I was clearing out my inbox in bed, which I never do. And my eyes landed on the first book and the one that was written during the pandemic. And I read the excerpt, Hannah Leigh's excerpt and Rhonda's and their stories. And I was just immediately drawn in. So I applied, and it was kind of out of character for me. And I'm so glad I did. It's been the most amazing journey. I've met such incredible people and really found even deeper purpose. It's really been an incredible, incredible journey.
Right. And I think that the wonderful part of it for me is actually just meeting and feeling, for me, for the first time, that I wasn't alone in my life in really kind of deep and profound ways. What was your experience in knowingness?
Gosh, so many. There's the experience of watching an already amazing group of women transform to be even more so has actually been profound. And watching it shift from maybe like slightly more ego into way into the heart center, and like the generosity and love and the collaborative like connectedness for this mission of Women Gone Wild is, I think that's probably the deepest, experience that I've gotten from this group, is their strong desire to positively impact people and the planet, and to help one another raise their voices and raise their causes and get their purpose out there. And all the purposes of all the authors are amazing.
And very unique.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Really, really unique. So do you find that the journey through, like, from ego to more defined purpose has kind of interwoven the group? I'm not part of that book, but I will be part of the next group. And I'm curious about, what do you think that evolution was? And also just in general, women haven't necessarily always supported other women. And I think that was the biggest shift for me, is being I always felt like I was different and didn't belong with women, because I was like, well, all the girls are like just talking about each other, and I'd rather go run around in the playground. So like from birth, I always felt like I was a sort of a misfit. I'm like, am I a boy? I just sort of felt like I didn't belong, Camberly.
Yeah. Well, most of my very best friends, many are men, for that same reason, although I have some amazing girlfriends too. And so I want to definitely recognize them, but 100%, I think the shift was that once we came together in this format from all over the world, all of a sudden, little by little, it was really clear that the message wasn't an I message. It was a we message. And I think it was from that place where the awareness began to grow, and Rhonda was already wanting to come from that place of women uplifting women, shifting that dynamic of women having to pull other women down to get up. That was already kind of the goal. But, I just think somehow the way that this group landed, the women that said yes and came into it from all the different places, there was such this beautiful and that just shifted everything into this heart place where it was like, yeah, this is so much bigger than all of us here, like so much bigger. And it's just going to keep expanding. And Rhonda's just sort of, everyone's been evolving, but it's just been watching Rhonda evolve even. It's so beautiful to see this mission unfold and be able to be a part of it and bring awareness of its existence to other people on the planet.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it's not just like women loving women. It's like women loving people.
All people, men.
It's like people. It's like, and I think that that's the different energy where it's not like we're together and complaining that like men suck.
Not at all.
Like women loving men, loving people, loving children, loving dogs, loving plants, loving, whatever charitable piece that lights us up, and that's the piece that I feel really pretty strongly in the group.
Agreed. It's bringing that awareness that we all have a balance of masculine and feminine energies, and that, for the men, it's okay to like have a little bit of the feminine, and for the women, it's okay to have a little of the masculine. Like we need to have a balanced world because those two together like create the world that we want to live in, the world of balance.
And also it's that the yin and the yang of like, wow, men have been, well, obviously I coach men too, but it's like men have lost some of their ability to own their machismo, and women have had lost their ability or checked out of their ability to really realize that we are the divine ones because we're built to receive. Like lucky us. Like even from a biological standpoint, we are supposed to receive. We're not supposed to give and give and give and give.
Right, exactly.
It's like, this is sacred. We're talking about a sacred shift.
Yeah, we don't have to also hold it all. Yeah, you're exactly. Like, we can receive some help. We can receive some assistance and aid and gifts and joy and love, and it's okay, right? And we're still, doesn't make us less strong.
No,
doesn't
it's
make us
wonderful.
less anything, makes us stronger. Yeah.
And I think that I don't know how I came to that, but that's what my biggest revelation has been in a lot of the work lately. And that's, again, I just always felt like I was alone, So I want to talk about just your childhood, because you have this energy about you that is lovely.
Oh, thank you.
So lovely. And I'm just wondering how was your evolution just being who you are? What was this like for you, knowing that you came into the world a more gentle soul?
Yes, I always have been a really gentle soul. I talk a little bit about it in my chapter in the book, but, I've always been really deeply connected to nature and to animals. And so growing up, I spent a lot of time outdoors. I grew up in small town in northern Minnesota, and I spent a lot of time, I loved horses, and I was always outside catching insects, and I was kind of a tomboy. and I lived in farm country, right? So I remember playing in cornfields, hide and seek, and long summers. But yeah, and I also loved to read. Somehow, I don't know, I guess I was born this way. I just was always connected to this awareness that there was some force larger than myself that I could connect into. And, as a young person, I dabbled in more organized religion and attended churches and things. But as I grew older, I studied world religion. I read all kinds of books, even as a teen. And I think I went through the turbulent teen years, we all do, of feeling like I didn't belong here. Like I wasn't meant for this planet. I was from somewhere else. And who was I, right? And nature was always the place where I went back to when I started having those feelings of like, I don't think I belong. And who am I anyway? What is this place I'm living in? Nature always seemed to have that calming effect where I could just kind of plug in and everything. I just felt like I was enough. So I learned that concept really young. And then I began probably in my early teens learning about all world religion. And I've circled around this place where I consider myself a very spiritual person, but not a very religious person, so to speak. So, and I'm the oldest. I have 2 siblings, and I'm also the peacekeeper in my family. So my family's very, very strong personalities and very traditionally successful personalities. And so I just remember being always the one to listening into the arguments and conversations and discussions, always trying to keep the peace between everyone.
That's a lot of pressure. So what did you ever feel that, oh my gosh, why am I this way? Why can't I be like blah, blah, like this kind of like
always.
You did. What did you feel like you weren't enough of?
I felt like I wasn't, for years, I felt like I wasn't smart enough, book smart wise. And I'm perfectly smart, but I wasn't as smart as my super smart siblings. But I learned over the years that I'm smart in a different way, kind of really intuitive way, a lot of perception, ability to read people, ability to kind of see people and feel their emotions and without them talking, a little bit, very perceptive. And so that was different from my family. And I, at first, not being traditionally great in the ways the world puts in a box form that you have to be great on. At first, I let that bother me until I sort of grew into that understanding in my probably early 20s, got really comfortable with the fact that it's a different kind of smart. And I'm a creative person, I've always been in design and branding. So I got labeled the artist, which sometimes isn't such a great label sometimes, right? It's a beautiful thing, but sometimes society doesn't understand all the levels of creatives on the planet. So sometimes
did you feel misunderstood?
Yeah, I did for a while. Yeah. My family is very traditionally minded. So careers mean a certain pathway, right? And it's very difficult for them to see and understand that the creative pathway has a career. It's not the same as a doctor or a lawyer, but.
Interested in learning more about a mastermind with Kate McKay? Reach out to us on our website at kate-mckay.com.
It's also very valuable, right?
Well, how do you define creative? And the reason why I asked that is I always my sister was the artist, in the family. And I was like, oh, I can't draw. I'm just not creative. But then I didn't realize then that then I became an actress and I'm like, all right, well, that's still not really creative. And then I built a multi-million-dollar company. And I'm like, yeah, well, I'm still not creative. But now I see all of those things, when you combine your heart and your mind into imagination is creativity. Yeah. But in our culture, we don't view creativity like that. How do you define it? And if you have viewers and listeners listening, what's that pathway that we go to tap into that inner knowingness of our creative essence?
Well, yeah, I believe, so first to define creativity, that I believe we all have, we were created as these beautiful beings. We have that power ourselves. It's there in all of us. And it doesn't mean that, because you can't draw a cartoon figure that you're not creative. Creativity takes so many forms, right? Creativity is when we move from creativity, we're moving from that little divine spark within us. And we're actually tapping into the creative spirit that created us, that created all the beauty you see if you look around, like the beautiful millions of blades of grasses or the wings of a dragonfly. We're tapping into that essence, which means we really can create anything from that place. And so it can take the form of so many things, baking or architecture or city planning. Really anything can be done. Building a business, anything can be done from a creative place. And I think it's just tapping into the joy and the calm place of beauty. I think it starts with a lot of beauty and love, that those words sort of don't get thrown around a lot in our society, but tapping into what feels beautiful to you, right? Because art is a multifaceted thing. Not everyone thinks the same art is beautiful regardless, but it's what feels beautiful to you to be doing when you're feeling connected to that place within yourself, then you are living from your own inner creativity. And then I think what you build out of that is infinite possibilities, because it's not just you that's building it. It's that you tapping into you And there you're tapping into the interconnectedness that built the universe, that built nature, and it's so beautiful.
It's so beautiful. And we were talking a little bit before, and I just called you out a little bit. Only because, like, listen, we talked about just the struggles of the youth and, the drug addiction and people just disconnected from their soulful essence, that divine spark in all of us. And you have a deep understanding of what that is. And basically, I think a lot of people don't, Camberly. And I think that's the calling in some ways for you and for me in different ways, is to help to lead people into that light of who they are. But what would you say that process is? Because I love the words that we've used, which is that creative essence, that light, that divine spark, the love, the beauty that is, the joy that is who we are.
Yeah.
But if 90% of the population doesn't see that beauty of who they are, is there no hope? Right? What is the process of turning inward?
Yeah. Well, before I answer that question, I'll just say that yesterday I was having lunch with my daughter, and we were talking about that she doesn't like living where we are, where I live in Washington State. There's a lot of natural beauty. It rains, it's cold. And I was telling her that, she was like, why do you want to live here? And I said, well, it rains a lot, but that creates the beauty. There's so much natural beauty. And her response to me was that she wouldn't care if she lived somewhere that really wasn't pretty to look at least if it was just warm. And it kind of made me sad, a little bit sad, because I thought to myself, going back to your question, when we don't notice the beauty around us, it's really difficult to notice the beauty within us, right? And they're kind of hand in hand. And so talking about the process of how to get there is that we have to slow down. We have to slow down a little, just a little. We don't have to be slow, but we have to cultivate stillness into our inner self a little bit. That whole stop and smell the roses kind of thing. It's important that we have a little stillness, because if we're not still, we aren't aware at all. And so bringing stillness, cultivating and intentionally cultivating a practice of stillness for just a few minutes each day, it doesn't have to be forever, helps us become more aware of the things around us, so that we actually, when we pass beauty, we actually observe it and notice it and appreciate it, right? And then, of course, it helps us cultivate gratitude, which also helps us connect into ourselves. And one process I talk about, it's in the next edition. So the Women Gone Wild book will be coming out in the fall, and it's talking the relaunch of it. And I talk a little bit about a process that I learned through this amazing spiritual mentor named Savitri. And she has this beautiful process called the heartful meditation process that she teaches. It's incredibly productive, is not the word. It has incredibly powerful results, is what I'm trying to say. And so what I'm going to share right now is just one tiny little piece of it. But it's just one piece that people who are running all around and very disconnected can begin to take into their process. And that is to just think of a time when you felt a beautiful feeling. And that's the key word, is feeling. You actually have to think about a time when you truly felt a beautiful feeling within yourself. And when we can connect to that feeling, then we're connecting to our heart. It's that simple, right? And it sounds simple, and it pretty much is. I share in the book that I'll often use the example. I went away on a trip to the sea with my family when my daughter was tiny. She was a little, year and a half, little bouncing baby. And the one that I often go to when I really need it, when I'm really struggling, is I go to the feeling of having her in her little swimsuit and me in these beautiful blue waves. And it was in the British Virgin Islands. And I waded out into about waist deep water with the waves, and I was bouncing her in the waves. And I was singing this funny little song, like a deep blue sea song that I made up about a baby, and bouncing my baby in the deep blue sea. And I was singing, and she was laughing, and I was watching her face really take everything in, the smell, the sounds, the textural, sensual feelings, her smile and the little babiness. And that feeling, I go there And I hold that feeling, that beautiful, there's beauty and love in that feeling. And in that way, I'm able to connect into my heart and stay there for a few moments. And if we can get used to that, it's like lifting weights, then if we do it more often, we can become more accustomed to that feeling. And maybe then we'll have the opportunity to touch into that divine essence where we really can feel and know we're enough. We're good. Everything's good. We're just what we're meant to be. We're just who we're meant to be. You don't need to be anything different. No voids, no void.
No voids. Oh, that's so powerful.
Yeah.
So the word stillness, I would say to you that most people are petrified of that word.
Yes, I was. I was.
What would you say to those people?
I would say that you are the most beautiful relationship you'll ever have. So you have to get to know you. It's scary, really scary. I remember being young, teenager, and back in the day when there were like recordings, you didn't have a cell phone even. It was like, because I'm old, like there was like voicemail box with your phone at home. When you come home at the end of the day, it would be full of messages. Yeah. I mean, I would come home to like 10 or 15 invitations. I would fly around everywhere, and I realized that was a distraction sometimes. And it was an attempt to fill the void. And I think that can be true we choose many things. Some people choose, whatever you want to choose in abundance in your life, an overabundance, too much of. Sometimes those things can be a distraction from the very thing you need. And so I had to learn that myself, in that it was uncomfortable to be alone at first. And it's not like I go around spending my life alone. I love people and I have a lot of great friendships. And I live in a multi-generational home with my parents and my children and 2 dogs and 2 bunnies. And it's crowded, right? But stillness isn't loneliness. It's totally different, not the same. And actually, the more you cultivate stillness, the less loneliness you'll feel. Because there's no need to be lonely on this planet. Like, we are an infinite love. Like, you are loved so deeply, and we're all right here for each other. So that feeling of loneliness, I think, comes when we allow ourselves to be so distracted and always living in like that, trying to fill the void. You don't have a void. Actually, it's already full of love. You just have to connect into it, right?
So if you were in an Indigenous society, what role do you see yourself playing in that society?
Oh, that's such a hard one. I actually do have a little bit of Native American Indian, and just a little tad in me on my mother's side. I kind of bounce between sort of the medicine woman and the leader, the chief, like chief. And chief, not because I want to be the chief, because that's really not my personality. I'm not I'm the chief, but chief from the place that, like, what I love are people. I love their hearts. I love the beauty.
Wisdom.
I love their flaws. I love all the flaws. I love the mistakes, all the things that are getting us where we're supposed to be. But the chief from the place that, like, people come to me. They come to me when they're feeling sad, when they are feeling hurt, when they are confused, when they need a friend. And that's an honor, such an honor, right? Such an honor to remind them who they are, because I'm not doing anything but that. Like, I'm just reminding them of the beauty and the love that they are. That's all that we need.
I don't even know why Anne asked you that question, but it was literally like, I saw it. And then you're like, yeah, I'm the medicine woman. Yeah. And the chief too. Like, it's the same. And I'm like, literally, that was such a perfect answer and so beautiful. It's just you owning that wisdom and the magic of those 2 roles. And that's who you are, just walking in this crazy world. You are the medicine woman and the chief in human form. And I am just so deeply grateful. I'm just moved to tears to know that we've had this sacred time together in this interview, Camberly. I'm deeply grateful.
I am too. It's such a pleasure to meet you and hear your story. And I thank you for all the work that you do and the messages that you help get out in the world. It's crucial work.
It's cool stuff. So you can find Camberly. I'll be sure to share her notes, and the new book, the new edition of the book, again, is coming out this fall, and it's going to be incredible. A lot of the women have been rewriting their stories, and the evolution of obviously where they've gone over the last year is really will be revealed in the depth of this book. And I'm really looking forward to seeing it and being a part of the next one. So, well, thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Katie, and have a really wonderful rest of your day and travels back home safely.
Thank you. And thank you to all the viewers and listeners of Master Your Life. And remember, there is no void, that you are love, and the divine spark of you is waiting to enter in this incredible garden that awaits you. So thank you so much and have an incredible day. Until next time, I'm Kate McKay.
Looking for an inspirational speaker at your next event? Please reach out to us at kate-mckay.com and to book Kate at your next event.